I guess kind of for both of you, Mook and Hub, you guys are obviously without two starters this week, and Tolu's still out for a little while. But uh, the depth of this team, you guys have somebody different every night. How different is that? I guess for you, Cam, specifically compared to last year, when if a couple guys weren't on their game last year, it was difficult.
Mook, you can go ahead and start. Yeah, you can start it.
You said how is it different from last year? I think I wouldn't say it's really different. Hold on. Shout out to Sonny, man. How is it different from last year? I think just Christopher Paul Jans just getting yellow sheet into the game. That's what we practice on every day, just trying to be an everyday guy. I think that's just the biggest difference from last year, just emphasizing it a little bit more.
Let's get the microphone to Robbie.
Josh, I'm sure you've been in a groove like that before, but how did it feel to do it on this level and do it in front of those fans today, to have a game like that?
Man, it was definitely special for my first time, to be in the hump. But I think the main thing, as our first home game, we got practice into the game. Just going from practice, doing the everyday thing that we do, and transitioning into the game.
And questions for the players, raise your hand. We'll get the microphone to you. We'll go back to Paul.
Josh, obviously a different role for you for now, coming off the bench. How does it change your mindset, or is it a change from what you're used to in high school?
I don't have a problem with it. I look at it from a team perspective. Personally, I just want to help the team any way possible that I do. Shout out to Sherry James with the cookies before the games. That gets me going too. So, yes, sir.
Go ahead, hey, Brian.
Well, first I had a question for Cam, and then I'll be back. I want to find out what kind of cookies those were. Cam, Galtrell had a big day today. For a true freshman, that's a guy that we all heard, talented but very, very raw. He looked pretty good out there today. What do you think about the young freshman?
Oh yeah, guy's an everyday guy. You just hear Christopher Paul Jans. He just brags on him a lot. Just how much potential he has, being an everyday guy. So we knew how guy could play. So it's no big thing with us.
We'll go ahead and get it to Robbie again, and then we'll go back to Brian.
Cam, you guys are used to playing that stifling defense, but being able to knock down three-pointers like this team has in the first two games, what does that do for the dynamic of this team moving forward to have, a day where you can come out and hit 10 to, 13 three-pointers?
Oh, yeah. It definitely switches it up a little bit. Last year, people got a feel for us, so they started to pack the paint, double Tolu a lot. So just getting guys that could knock down shots could ease up everything else for everybody else.
Get it back to Brian.
Cam, when you think about these early games and trying to find the rotations and who's going to play what role throughout the season, you've played a lot of guys in these first two games. Do you feel like everybody's starting to come into their roles a little bit?
Oh, yeah. I think we are starting to figure out our roles a little bit more. I just got 100% faith in everybody on our team. So whoever he throws out there, we all kind of got a good chemistry. So I don't feel like we'll have any drop-offs there.
Any other questions for the players before we let them go? We'll go back to Paul.
Josh, you guys got several guys in the backcourt that can play the 1 and the 2, and obviously when Shaq gets back in it, he's a guy that can play both spots too. How helpful is that going to be moving forward, especially in the SEC with those athletic matchups that you'll face?
Yeah, it's definitely helpful. When we all know the 1 and 2 spot, we can be very a lot of depth with that, and just knowing each spot, credit to Coach Anwar and Coach Danny, for the scouting report, so we can do those type of things. But yeah.
Anything else for the players before we let them go? All right. Thanks. We'll have Coach Jans here in a little bit.
Coach, I guess just the obvious question. I think Robbie had that stat last year. You guys didn't make 10 three-pointers in a single game, and you've opened up this year. Both games you've had 10 or more threes. Just obviously, how does that open things up on the court for you guys?
When we started getting back together, this fall, right? We did media, things like this. I told y'all we were going to shoot the three better. You don't remember that? Right? But we were also last in the country, so I had a lot of wiggle room. But I didn't know we'd shoot 39 of them, second game out of the shoot, but we did. And historically, my teams have always taken a bunch of threes. I don't have the numbers, and I'm not going to take the time to look at it, and I would advise you not to, too. But I think last year was probably the team that shot the less amount of threes that I've ever had. And, you know, we've always believed in the three-point line and how it's changed the game historically. And I don't know if we'll shoot that many again going forward. You know, it was a night we could have made 18 or 19 if we knock them down, and we had some guys that are good shooters that didn't make them. I did think in the first half especially we had, you know, 2 or 3 that were, you know, at least iffy at best. But it's going to happen sometimes. You know, it's going to happen sometimes, and it sure is nice to have more guys, you know, wearing the maroon and white that can knock down an open shot.
Go ahead, Robbie.
You knew that Hub was going to help you this year as a dynamic player coming out of high school, had a great career, but just what kind of player is he for this team, you think, as a true freshman? What can he add to this roster this year in his first season?
I didn't know exactly. You know, I don't believe in that. I do this long enough. You know, you have an idea, but you really don't know who you have until you're with them for months. You know, that's why we get them in June and July, and that's 8 weeks, and then fall. And so you really get a feel of what they're about, who they are, what their approach is. And he's ahead of, you know, most freshmen across the country. He's in the higher percentile of being prepared to transition to this level of basketball. He's been preparing for this moment, this part of his career, his whole life. I mean, he's got an incredible work ethic. He's been raised by a high level. He understands the relationship between work and success, and he's got a presence about him. You know, he's got a presence about him that he doesn't walk around or make decisions like a freshman. He's all in, and he understands being a part of a team, and you know, he's got a long way to go. You know, he made some silly mistakes out there, freshman mistakes, but he doesn't make that many of them that often, and he's just real comfortable, man. He's real comfortable in his own skin. He's real comfortable on the basketball court. You know, and he's obviously off to a great start in a very, very, very infant part of his career.
We'll stay front row with Brian.
From the 5 position tonight, you got 18 points and 18 rebounds out of Jimmy and Gal. Gal, especially, you know, a guy that we thought was going to be kind of a raw prospect, but he's playing at a pretty high level. It's only 2 games in, but for a true freshman, what did you think of his performance tonight?
I love him. I love him. He was, you know, he didn't know this, but when we signed him, our plan was to redshirt him. Our plan was to redshirt him all the way up until we had the injuries. And at that point, his daily tutorials increased in their level of intensity from myself and the rest of the coaches. And we just said, hey, man, you're going to get thrown in the deep end. It wasn't the plan, but that's what's going to happen. And we don't really have much of a choice. And he's been awesome. He's gotten better. I mean, I'm telling you, almost every day he gets better. Every week, for sure, he makes strides. And what I love the most about him is his approach. You know, for a young freshman built like that, playing against grown men, like a lot of the guys we have that play his position are older and experienced, he has zero fear. He battles every single day. He's a sponge with terms of picking things up and listening and learning. And he plays really, really hard. Now, obviously, he's got some strength issues and some balance issues, experience issues, but, you know, for what we need right now, I'm sure glad we had him. And, you know, he possesses, which he's shown to everybody, a really nice touch with the free throws and around the basket.
Kind of speaking to that, I mean, it wasn't very deep in the ballgame. You had 5 guys off the bench playing together, and you see a little bit of depth. But what are you learning from this team early without, you know, 3 key contributors and playing a lot of new faces and not a lot of guys like that?
Yeah, we thought, you know, heading into the season that depth was going to be a positive for us this year with the added recruits, the guys that came back. And, you know, fortunately it is. You know, we're having to test it right away with the obvious of guys being out, et cetera. But, you know, I always tell them, hey, listen, if you can go in the game, and more often than not, you're going to move the needle in a positive direction, we're going to find minutes for you. I love playing a bunch of guys. My best teams I've ever had are when we have multiple guys that you can throw in and not rely on just one guy to show up and score a bunch of points for the team. And I think it builds great camaraderie amongst the team. The chemistry's a little bit better, and it keeps them motivated in practice because they know they got guys on their left and their right that are capable, and if they don't bring it every day, their minutes could slip. So we love having the depth that we assembled, and it's really helped us already.
Kind of about two guys. One, I guess, will Shaquille return next week, and two, obviously we saw Jaquan get hurt or when he dove on the floor there. And I know it's pretty quick, but any update on him?
Yeah, I don't have any updates on either one of them at the current moment.
Go back to Danny P. in the second row.
Coach, only 9 turnovers today, so what does that say about your ball club, especially with playing the freshmen that you're playing?
Yeah, it's been a focus for us the last few weeks heading into the game portion of our schedules because in practice, we were having too high of a number. And we've had 4 halves now, and 3 of them, if I'm not mistaken, I think we've been under 5 for 3 out of the 4 halves. And we had the 12 turnover half in the second half against Arizona State, and 5 of them were against their press, which we just acted like we had never seen a press before, and we do it almost every day in practice, which was disappointing. But if we can keep that number low, and continue to get better at offense, and rebounding is certainly an issue for this particular game. It wasn't against Arizona State as much, but I love when we take care of the ball, and we just tell them, hey, it's simple, man. We need to get a shot on goal every time. Turnovers are the hardest thing to defend. Getting more shots than the other team, if you can take care of the ball, usually helps you try to win the game.
Playing a lot of players, and the early part of the schedule is when you want to try to find what guys' roles are going to be throughout the season. How difficult is it for you as a coach knowing I've got 3 more guys that are going to start playing eventually at some point, and we got to figure out what their roles are going to be as well?
It's a great question, and I understand it, but I don't think about it right now. We got, it's so far for at least 2 of them that, it's not on my brain. In a few weeks, then that'll be something I'll think about, but that's a problem, we'll deal with later, and more so right now, we're just trying to get better. We're trying to get better every day. We got, with the way our schedule unfolded, we had a bunch of games to start, right? We play Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, Sunday. So what is that, like 5 games in 12 days? So, getting better in practice, you got to be careful even now. It's more you cleaning things up and getting better in the games, getting in game shape, playing in games because it's different, and trying to, to your point, is build a better, depth, a better bench, knowing we got some guys that are a little more proven, waiting to play.
Anything else for Coach before we let him go? All right, we'll see you back here Monday morning. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. I want to congratulate James Armstrong and his lady soccer players. I was following it all day long. I actually wanted to tweet it, but I felt like if I did that, there would be some people in the stands going, why is he following the soccer game when he's about to play in 30 minutes? But I want to know if they won or not. And I want them to hurry up so those people could come over to the hump too. But real happy for Coach Armstrong and Coach Zimmer and their staff. And, couldn't happen to a better guy. Thank you.